Um,
Welcome, everybody. I'm back with Jonathan Dumeer. The last time I recall being in skeleton pajamas, I think. So probably been about a year. We should probably watch that one again. He was just telling me about how he's scared to attend an event.
yeah, you sprung the recording on me, right? um, yeah, I was just saying how I don't know if I'm quite ready to jump right into a full weekend, stay overnight type of TLC event. Maybe I should at least go to my estuary
Did you ever
once.
sleep over? Have you ever had a sleepover before? How young are you? Holy smokes.
I'm 26.
26. All right, then.
Yes,
The Shenandoah Valley card
nice.
of the show is the six of clubs, whatever that's worth. So, who are these guys? There's two guys on people's screens right now. Who are they, and why are they? What's up with them?
Mm. Well, I'd assume you're talking about me and you,
Hmm.
and I am I am me. My name is Jonathan. I am I have a YouTube channel and I am from the Northeast. And there are many things that could be said about me, but I am here today because I want to talk with GrimGriz because it's been too long and because I have a particular topic that I'm hoping to discuss.
Ooh, you're
That's
bringing something. That's nice. Now, the reason his man caught my attention, hello, I see the assassins have failed, is because I'm a narcissist. And I did this one rant called the Muggle Lie once, and he was like, "Aha! I will remix this narcissist rant on my YouTube channel and garner his attention." And thus you have. I notice you continue to put out videos. I don't catch as many as I like. What's your latest releases, and what's the vein of those over on? What's the name of your channel for people?
just Jonathan Dumeer, my name. Yesterday I put out three to do with kind of the topic of rebellion. One of them, Michael Martin, raving against the system. Another one, Paul Vanderklay, talking about the corner, how we need to have relational solutions. And another one was from Academy of Ideas, talking about conformity and obedience and stuff like that. And and I also put out one earlier in the day. I'm kind of crazy. I put out a lot of but I put out another one with Peugeot talking about tectons, which are which is the word for like translated as carpenter. This is a interesting thing.
Before masonry took off, it was carpentry that was the
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. So that's
So,
recent.
what is this little corner, and how do you see yourself in it?
Mm. Well, what is this little corner? Um,
I mean, did you find me and buy in on the flotilla bullshit, or do
oh
you
yeah.
have your
Well,
own
I want to
thing?
say one thing about the Muggle lie. That's that was partially in my mind. It's like I hope this guy brings me into the fold a little bit if he likes my clip. But also, I just thought it was a really great, thing you were saying. I was like, everyone's a wizard. We have to stop writing people off as muggles. That's not cool, you know. And I like that. And there's also all sorts of other stuff that really made me want to clip that. And I'm glad you liked it. Um,
Agency deck card of the show is the Queen of Spades. And you're skilled at you've noticed these things. This like, oh, he'll probably bring me in angle. Like you also have mastered the have something round behind your head
yes.
as your background. Is that something you did for a reason, or just saw it and knew it worked, or how?
Yeah, it was kind of like I saw it and I was like, I've been looking for something to put there for a while. I do think there's like probably some crazy occult symbolism. Like there's a
It looks like a middle finger.
Yeah, this is a
It looks
thing.
it looks with a big eyeball right here is what I'm seeing.
Yeah, no, that's what yeah. There's this I'm not super into this, but I think you might find this interesting that there was this uh there's like this way that people would make artworks in ancient times. They would have like astronomical angles encoded in them. And obviously we have to be careful in this respect because you could easily go crazy. But like that's like one of the classic ones that like this has. I think it's like 10 degrees and like 26.5 degrees or something, and the eye also has like the circle sizes would tell you something about the actual location of where the artifact was made. Kind of wild.
So it's like the GPS coordinates
Yeah.
where
I'll,
the art was
yeah.
created.
Yeah. I'll comment the video that I found that out about.
That's
But
good.
yeah, it wasn't particularly intentional. I'm a big fan of eyes in general, though. Eyes are great. So
So, deuce of clubs for the casino deck today. What's again? Let's refocus. What's this little corner, and how do you see yourself in it, or
yes.
related to it?
Okay. Well, I see this little corner as a diffusely defined um, collaboration of like-minded people who come together in a similar spirit. Like I would say TLC is kind of like a spirit. It's a spiritual being. And um, the spirit that is TLC is this kind of spirit of open dialogue and uh, I would say personal, relational, um, communal sort of.
Public displays. Like I just noticed your socks and your bed or something was within that shot. I had to cut it, but
All good, all good. Yeah, and it's people, a lot of people from the Peterson, Peugeot, Paul van der Clay,
sales
Vervaeke.
funnel. How do you
Yeah.
view that? What is that?
I think some of it was actually like the algorithm, like creating this, but I think it kind of got out of the algorithm's control or something like that. Like I remember when I was first kind of getting into the space, it was all like Terrence McKenna, Alan Watts stuff, and then the Peterson stuff, and they were like maybe they threw Peterson in, but it's not quite the same. It's like Peterson leads to this whole other thing, where you end up like a lot of people end up getting baptized and stuff. It's like it's totally different from. I don't know. I don't. It doesn't seem in keeping with the algorithm's intentions. However, I imagine if we all get stuck behind computers talking about politics all the time, then maybe you know Peterson. We can see that in Peterson a bit, but I don't know. I think Peterson.
Well,
I
I think the difference would be that like neither Watts or McKenna offer a call to action.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, no, certainly. Definitely big differences. It's interesting that he was like so suggested. Like, do you think maybe like what's
No,
your kind of
no, no, you're not. You got the egregore of the corner, the TLC spirit, and
okay?
where your
Yeah.
relation
Okay,
to
yeah.
how you see yourself in it.
My relationship with that is that I like it. I like to participate in it to a certain extent. I want to influence it to some extent, like with my contributions. And also I want to kind of assist in certain processes like clipping and reaping and recursive remembering, those types of things. And also bringing people together who might not talk with each other otherwise. And yeah, like, but generally my kind of way I conceptualize myself is something of a or I don't know if I want to start that sentence that way. I like to do a lot of clipping, and just because I also enjoy it, like on my own time, I like to, as a creative kind of artistic muse type of pursuit. Like it's very
Say that again, please.
um,
Exactly the same way.
a muse type of pursuit, where
Come
it's
on, everybody. It's a
yeah,
muse type of pursuit. Come
yeah,
on.
yeah, and yeah, that's been really great for me. I used to do a lot more creative stuff when I was younger, and I kind of stopped for a while. So doing that again has been nice, and also making friends and stuff has been good. It's
I
wonderful
like
talking to you again.
you came on as a reaper and a loomer. You did your own looming. It was like you kind of came in right when Pet Cow dropped out because he had a kid.
Yeah,
So you filled the Pet Cow hole a little bit. He was definitely more musical about it.
I miss Pet Cow. It's nice that he still posts every once in a while.
Yeah, yeah, he's still putting a little bit of stuff out. I haven't seen. I didn't look, but I did see it happen.
Yeah, he
Um,
was he was a big part of kind of inspiration as well. Like there was a bunch of, I had long kind of been thinking of doing something like this, but I really liked his stuff. And I remember right around when Peugeot put out that like call to artists or whatever.
Yeah, we gotta.
It's
You
cool.
should let's resurface that. I've heard it referenced enough. It's like an artifact.
Yeah.
So
Maybe I'll make a clip of it or
you
something.
should, if not, the whoever wants to be the next Dumeer, try and beat him to it. Let's see
Yeah.
your rendition.
Yeah, I remember. I remember messaging you one time. I said, I don't know if I still think Chad the Alcoholic might be Chief Lobster Monkey Reaper. Because he's done some also. He's had some really powerful clip collages and stuff. Like yeah.
Yeah,
Do you remember that message?
I do. I do. It's like it's sort of functioning the way I intended it. Like there's so many failings of where I wish it was that it's not. Like there's this whole like Rumble thing, and there's this whole other thing, and I wish we had more of that the that what do we call it, the marina, the Metanoia Marina had more travelers through it from these other platforms that
You're talking about like the corner in general, or
no, I'm just well, like to my exposure of the flotilla, because like I see these like silos, these attention silos as like either islands or whatnot in the information sea, and like there's like Planet Instagram. I mean, you can do it a stellar thing, right?
mm-hmm.
And in those places and those people, what groups are grouping there, and what are the tribal customs, and because like my notion was that somebody came on like a talent, like say we pick up Kale, or like, hey, teacher man, your stuff you should be thinking of in the egregore with us. Like
Mm-hmm.
when somebody comes in, they're going to have a style that'll fit better on this platform or that platform. Like they can't say what they want to say without getting censored on YouTube. So we ship,
Mm-hmm.
there's that whole layer. But
Mm-hmm.
what has happened is like people came and started playing and ended up with their own channels. That I think like yours is like floating. Would you say you're getting
Yeah.
enough views to make it like you're not feeling like you're
I don't
talking?
know about I don't know the views is not so much, but like I've gotten over 1,000 subscribers now, so that's I don't know, semi floating is like maybe like there's a leak in the bottom. It's like we're taking on water or something. you know.
But it's like that's a metric that makes you feel like you're doing it right. That you, I don't know. I thought they were going to shut my channel down when I hit it. That was fun.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's definitely there's not too many like great metrics to kind of tell how the impact I'm having or whatever, but like I don't know, it's also that I'm part of the community to a certain extent, that like I've made connections and stuff like that. I think that's also kind of a metric in some sense, I don't know.
Well, real quick, I want to dive into the blue church card of the show, the Three of Hearts, and over on your recent appearance on the German Dragons, Ayahuasca, God on YouTube, and Spider-Man's. This video here. And here's a random part of it we're playing.
Actual form. But yeah, what I always find difficult to understand is the lack of separation between the historical Christ and the mythologized form that we find on paper. It's similar to, you even find this in the I think in the smartest, most intellectual people. For example, John Vervaeke.
Did you have an itch?
Oh, I wasn't watching myself. I'm very conscious of my like my face when I'm on camera though, so like that's probably what was going on there. I didn't see
I don't
what I
know.
was
You were
doing
doing
yet.
a weird back scratching thing. It was fascinating.
I don't
He's
know.
about to go into the whole notion of Socrates as an actual person being a fiction, which is
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah,
What do you have? What came like? I didn't watch it. What's good in that conversation?
well, I made a 26-minute clip of it, so if you're
Oh, that one. Okay. The
but
extract has been made.
Yes, but I can further extract, and I also would. I was actually just drafting an outline before hopping on this call for kind of a follow up talk with him uh, to hopefully clarify and like condense and streamline what we were saying, and hopefully take it further and stuff.
I just gave him a shit DM on Twitter. He's my executive producer, by the way. You can become an executive producer by joining at the highest tier of membership. That's how you get the credit. But I gave him some shit. I was like, all this dragonize yourself thing just turned into you becoming a podcaster. So I miss the Joker, man. I miss Bureau too. He's just this guy talking now.
I hope he takes your your message in good spirit, because I feel similarly. No shade against him, but also
he's overthinking the avatar bit instead of avataring.
Regardless,
but enough slamming my executive producer. What were you gonna say?
I think his project, his whole idea of self-dragonization, and also Christ 2.0 or the Incarnation Gigafactory. I think he has another phrase for it. I really like the Incarnation Gigafactory.
That was good. That was good.
Yeah.
You gotta shop the meme around. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so I think that actually maps to like kind of my perhaps heretical, and I use that word in jest because I don't actually think it's heretical or whatever the fuck they mean by that. But, like my cosmology, that I'm kind of my work in progress, as I'm understanding how I think about Christ and about the time period we're in and the second coming, etc. I think there's a strong mapping with what he's doing. And I also think the octahedronic self-representation stuff and the kind of splitting yourself and maybe doing like imaginal characters.
Hold on.
There's many aspects which I think are interesting, and they don't all fit together perfectly, but that's what I'm hoping to explore with him further. Yes.
All right. Well, you said it. Octahedronic what?
Octahedronic self-representation, which is
all right. Well, what we're going to do now, since my coffee cup is empty, is go over to your channel, press the search button, and say octahedronic. Yeah, like that.
I think it might be with a O, octo.
Octahedronic. Let's try that. There we go. We got a 5 minutes. It's got Red Skull in it.
Oh yeah.
Good.
All right, let's jump into a minute and a half. Yeah, 111. Here we go. We'll watch this while I get coffee. Enjoy.
To note that people were, in some sense, inhabited by sub-personalities that had a certain degree of autonomy and independent life. Brilliant observation. The cognitive psychologists haven't caught up with that at all yet.
So those who want to see one side in him project that on him, and those who want to see the other side in him project that on him. And I mean, you already know how to represent yourself in different social settings as essentially different people. You don't speak the same way with your friends as you speak with your family or your colleagues at work, right? You enact multiple roles on a daily basis, fluidly, without the need for an editor or a director. It's embodied. You embody multiplicity. So what if you could represent your inner world as embodied in, say, 2 separate characters? This may sound alien, it may sound strange, it may sound like a challenge, and it certainly is, but I think you can perfectly learn to do that, because I learned to do that, and in only a few years. So if you could learn it, the question is, why should you do it, right? Why should you learn to represent yourself as multiple characters? I don't know what the best answer to that would be. Maybe you should learn to represent yourself in your multiplicity, because multiplicity is what you embody naturally anyways. Consider it a way of exploring the structure of yourself, an inner adventure that will transform you. You will essentially realize that those representations of yourself are archetypes, cosmic forces, if you will, and that you are just trying to interact naturally with both of them
simultaneously, like Plato's charioteer with the two horses. I know this is a somewhat like, honestly, I don't really know how to speak about the subject because it's still fresh in my mind. And, you know, especially if you've seen the last 2 episodes of my show on the main channel, what I think I'm practicing with octahedronic self-representation, whose roots, by the way, I'm tracing back through Carl Jung and Tolkien to William Blake. Well, I think it's essentially the most Platonic form of poetics. Yes, it's scripted, but it's dramatic. It is very emotional. It is an embodiment because it's enacted, right? If you look at the architecture of the entirety of Lotus 21, it's really just the smallest geometric body representing totality. So I'd say that octahedronic self-representation, or such representation, such poetic representation of geometric totality, is a path to individuation, as Carl Jung called it, right? So I'd say that octahedronic self-representation, or such representation, such poetic representation of geometric totality, is a path to individuation, as Carl Jung called it, right? It's essentially language therapy. It's language therapy, but I think more than that, it's essentially poetic self-engineering.
Remember it.
This agency. We walk
Muted. Cord.
So nice to have somebody I feel I can abuse my like hosting superpowers with. I couldn't do this sort of shit with Jordan Hall, you know.
I went a little crazy on the music on that one because I really was like trying to put an exclamation point on it. I don't know if it worked though. Like I don't know how many people saw it.
We'll see as it echoes through time. That's the thing. You throw the seeds and let them grow, man. You never know how it's going to sprout. It's amazing. It's amazing.
It's true. It's kind of an interesting idea, though, right? This whole octahedronic thing. I think it maps to some other stuff that I've heard as well, in very interesting ways. So
I immediately see an 8-sided die and await when they get to the 20, which is choice.
Yeah, I actually have a video about that as well with the it's called dodecahedrons, but that's not or that is 20 if I remember right.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the savings throw. Maybe we'll even give you some. Stay tuned.
Yeah, I feel like I could use them.
They might. But first, the Canadian deck card of the show, the Deuce of Diamonds.
Nice.
I feel like I'm overworking Steven. I need to map out his saints so I can do it myself and not have to rely on him to come and watch every card pull. Poor guy.
Do you have is he or do you have someone else like mapping all of the saving stairs, like keeping a log?
He's got his already. He's pulling from and telling us, but I haven't had anybody on our side pick him up and recreate the list.
Yeah, that would be very cool if we could look through these records.
It's interesting how they come out sometimes.
Perhaps, yeah.
He won't do the Jokers though, so
yeah. So that dodecahedronic one talks about basically like the 12 faces would be like the ego from each
12 faces. It'd be 20 faces.
Or I think I'm thinking of one with 12.
Anyway, what if each face was represented by a card in the major arcana?
But yeah, or a zodiac sign. Like Steiner also said that it would be good if we learned how to view the ego from 12 standpoints. It's kind of an interesting connection there. Yeah, I think it's and also like this idea of archetypal, reconstructing the higher dimensional you, which is the perfectly like the future you, which is already integrated or something, and like something.
The future you, as if you're receiving the line from the oracle,
like
which said you already made the choice. You're here to find out why.
Something like that.
So what was the topic? Well, let's give everybody the saving throws, but only those who know how it goes. Survival, social wisdom, or heart. Choose. Survivalist with another. Not one. That's 2 in 2 days.
Damn.
2 in 2 days. Socialist.
Hard
weather
is rough.
With the 5. Lovers of wisdom. That's an 18 for you. You'll be fine. Watch out, heart, folks. That's the number of transformation. Dumeer knows where the strings are pulled. Trinity for the Indigo kids. Trinity for the Indigo kids.
I picked heart. I'm happy about this. I think I got a 6 on the last time we talked.
You did better. What's the topic you wanted to bring up?
Okay. The topic of I made a clip recently, and I titled it "Anarchy and LARPing." And a point made in the clip is how all these people have anarchic ideas, but they don't put them into practice. They just kind of are quote unquote. He didn't actually use the word LARPing, and I'm second guessing the title in some sense, but not so much because I'm here today to kind of fill out the picture of what we mean by LARPing, because I know that you have a kind of nuanced take on this. And basically in the video is kind of, talking shit about people who are LARPing, saying that they're not actually, I think he used the word cosplay, which is different, I suppose. And
what minute of your video is this in? Because we can just run at part of it. It's 7.
I think it's probably around like the 3-minute mark. I'm not sure. Maybe like 250.
We'll do 244 and see what happens.
Okay.
She was lecturing me about Nietzsche and Kierkegaard, and I didn't know what to say. And in a sense, I felt I just felt silent. Actually, I started reading at night to keep abreast of them because they're more conversant with Nietzsche than I was. And so I said, God damn it, I got to read, beyond
I think it might have been before this.
I can dialogue with them. But aside from that, food but underlying it all is radically the most revolutionary and the most dangerous thing there is for the system. This is why the system has flooded discourse and universities and our minds.
I don't remember where it is.
The cultural life of the West for 200 years with all sorts of bogus so-called thought. What?
Okay.
I don't remember where it is. I apologize.
But the reference point, he says what?
He says, doing their mark, all these people, they give them marks and they say, oh, you don't like the system, here, take marks. And then they do their Marxian cosplay, but they don't actually do anything. It's like, so that's kind of the point. And so he's saying LARPing in that sense. Maybe I should have titled it cosplay instead of LARPing. But regardless, I was thinking about it further, and I was like, this concept of LARPing is really interesting because I've also been thinking about the idea of acting and like fake Christians or whatever, like people who just kind of put on the appearance of the Holy Spirit or something like that, not cool. Yeah. And as opposed to like acting out the Holy Spirit, it's interesting that we use the same word for like acting and like doing actions, and I thought, I don't know, I thought we could have an interesting conversation about it because as I understand it, you think about kind of everybody is LARPing and we have to LARP hard. So
the main thing I like to throw in is the caveat that there's a difference between LARPing and lying.
Okay. And
formerly, what people know as LARP is usually lying. Like people pretending they're wizards throwing fireballs when they know damn well it's a Nerf dart, not a fireball. And so the only the fair game for LARPing is unverifiable unknowns, like such as I'm a time traveler from another dimension with with another timeline with amnesia that's overwritten this man's poor head. So there's a thing, but it's like if you cross the border and get shot for doing it, that guy was like LARPing that if anybody crosses that line, I have to shoot them because that's the rule. And
Yeah.
all of that is like, stuff a monkey you couldn't explain to a monkey.
Yeah.
Most of that is LARP, and our society is built on it.
Yes.
And so that's my take on LARPing as far as that goes. And as far as these do-nothing LARPing Marxists, they're shaping the perceptions of the freshly minted souls who don't differentiate their inaction into they're just LARPing. And like their background reality casts those characters as what they're portraying. So that's the big focus lately. Is the background and the intentionality network. I love that division of it the best. And at what everybody's LARPing shapes the background way more than they take credit for.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to work, you're LARPing as somebody who gives a shit about customer service, whether or not you do on the inside or not.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So everybody LARPs.
Everybody LARPs, and we must LARP.
Yeah, it's identity is contextual.
Yes.
Like changes if your mom walks in the room, right? So.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. And yeah, it's kind of, I think we're on the same page. I think, I wonder if we could dig into this idea of like, the falsity that we sometimes see sometimes though, insofar as like, the a priest will know that he has to LARP the role of a priest, right? But like, what does it mean to LARP well, and like, and not in like a, you made this distinction between LARPing and lying, because it's an interesting thing where sometimes you have to kind of suspend your own disbelief about who you are to like embody someone else or something like that. But it is kind of like,
and you have to get yourself out of the way entirely to let the Holy Spirit act through you. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and like, but and some.
So it's like which constraints of self are active or dominant? Is like if the priest is a father, is he in the context where that's the dominant role the situation calls for that persona, or is it the one where like his mother's there and he's got to like LARP as part of his family? He's got to do his family LARP as opposed to his spiritual LARP, and then with like they're all there, right? But which one gets to drive? Which one gets to hold the light?
Yeah. I mean, but like in the process, I don't know. This might be too far out of a tangent, but I think this connects to this big idea that I've been talking about language as technology in a sense, or like language as magical something where as garments of skin, how like language is clothing in a sense, how we're always wearing our words in a way, and how it's the garments of death, but in the end they can be transfigured into garments of light, and they become ornaments that reveal what is inside and add to it in a way, rather than kind of like dead garments. They become full of glory. And I think that kind of maps in a way to this idea of LARPing. This might be too far out of a connection, but insofar as I think like we learn how to speak and how to act, and then it's kind of like a fall where we know how to do it fake, and we can fake smile and stuff, but then eventually there's a way where our true being can really shine through our language and through our expressions and stuff. I think that kind of maps. But yeah, what do you think about that? I mean,
it's like how we do it, automation to push things below the surface into like our own personal background of axiomatic shadow lanterns, but like those automated processes of how to smile and what it's like when I smile, and then like that skill just becomes like an extension of your expression.
Yeah, and that maps with the idea.
So that makes
sense. And it's a technical, like that's the way that Peugeot talks about technology, right? Where it's like a supplement, right? And it extends your reach of power in a way, like because that's kind of.
But like the whole language being the garments of death and being transfigured, that's out there. What? How's that happen? What do you mean there?
Mm-hmm. Well,
I mean, are they death because we speak death, or where is it? They're the garments of death coming from?
I think well, we don't have to go into this, like, if you don't want, like, this, I could easily, this is kind of a very multifaceted idea, I think, but I mean, I think language was like the first technology in a way, and
let's look at how it's a technology and why, and what happens is like there's a lion over there, and if you trust me, you take that sensor, that your imagination of that sensory input, and put it into this is the reality I live in category. Like it's an extension of your senses. You take my information and then that's how language is powerful, and does that just because it drops in external data into what is normally only verified by personal experience.
Yeah, and that makes me think of how so, like, maybe the older languages weren't so like removed from direct experience or something. Like now I particularly see this idea of like the dead garments of language in our modern languages, where we have kind of like texts, for example, that have no like breath in them, no spirit, like they're not living embodied speaking. It's like just definitions or whatever. But I think it also goes kind of deeper. But I struggle to recall like how I connect that precisely in this moment. But I think it's even just this idea of like the ornamentation and like clothing, like language as clothing, where it can hide, but it can also reveal our inner states to the world around us. Like if I'm hunched over and crying, that's kind of like it's like I'm wearing a type of clothing that says something about who I am.
And so can the manner and forms in which you speak. I'll buy it.
And then we can control that, like in a willful, mind-oriented way. And that's very like, in my thinking, that's like a Luciferic type of thing. But ultimately, I think that Lucifer is redeemed in the end. And we also probably have different ideas of who or what is meant by Lucifer. But I'm not sure about that. Yeah, I noticed we're wearing red and green today, and you were wearing red and green. Or this reminds me, you did that conversation with Mr. German Dragon, and you were talking about the Matrix. You were also wearing. He was wearing red in that case, and you were wearing green. Have you happened to? I don't know. Did you have any more thoughts about that? I'm tempted to change topics, but
yeah, I'm good on that.
Okay,
we can move on.
Yeah. I also think that it connects to like the Steiner eurythmy thing and astrology somehow. But yes,
And astrology.
Yes,
I love that.
but we
That's
can
one of the more fascinating ones.
Yeah.
Like still to this day, when like Biden does the return of Pluto announcement, man.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think in general, we're overlooking astrology, and it's like, as like a important thing that we should be paying attention to, or something like that.
It's hard to buy, though. All
Mhm.
of it. Like it matters when and where you were born, like what signs were on top. But like where my Lilith turned out to be in my birth chart explains so much.
Yeah, that's when it really gets crazy, is when you realize that all the asteroids and stuff, like, will usually, like, I think people go.
The second moon. You're watching that shit more than I am. What did you hear about that one?
Oh, the second, yeah, I heard about that. I didn't know anything about it though. My impression was that it was like a psyop, and
Let's find out,
and
man.
I didn't look into it
because it was supposed to be here, right? It might be on its way out. No, I think it's supposed to be here till November. So there's the official NBC. No, wait. We Are Iowa Local 5 News explanation is what we're gonna get.
Okay.
How about this?
Well, from the soup.
Thank you, Iowa.
From the soup.
Or blue moon to the northern lights. It's been quite the year for space enthusiasts, and it's not over yet. Meteorologist Hannah Dennis explains how Earth gained a mini friend.
Earth currently has 2 moons right now. We have our usual moon that is always here going around Earth, but we have a second mini moon, and that is because an asteroid flew pretty close to Earth. It started to make its path early in August here, and it started to come around. And whenever it did, it started to get pulled in by our gravitational pull, because this is pretty small. It's only about 24 feet wide, which is around the size of a school bus. Now, it won't be visible to the naked eye because of its size. It's going to be seen only on those professional telescopes like the ones that NASA has.
So, do you think like the overlords are in their little asteroid disguised ship and doing a pre-harvest survey, or what do you think? This is what's going on with this.
What that reminds me of is a Steiner talk I heard recently, where he was talking about the influence of comets and asteroids and how they like add to things, and how this has like spiritual implications. I don't remember what he said. Maybe I was planning to make a clip of it, so maybe I'll do that around the time this is posted. And but I don't know. I mean, I imagine, I don't know if I'd count that as a moon, talking definitions, because I think of a moon as something which is like in a stable orbit and will remain that way. But I imagine that there is some sort of kind of astrological reading that could be applied to this that would maybe glean something. However, that's very speculative, And I wanted to say one more thing about asteroids in general, which is that there's a clip on my channel called The Asteroidal Rabbit Hole, talking about how like all these crazy asteroids, when you add them to the chart, it shows how astrology is kind of like there's something to it which is beyond our
Ken. Beyond our ken. I love that word.
Beyond our ken?
Ken, yeah.
I've never heard that.
Yeah.
How do you spell that? I've never heard.
I just did. You can watch the replay.
Okay, I'll do that. Yeah, and how it's different than how we usually think about it. If anyone's curious, feel free to check that out. It's but yeah, I generally
people come on.
I generally try and stay away from all the asteroid stuff, because I feel like there's already enough with like the 12, the planets and points that are kind of basic. I think it already adds it's such a complex reading of things, but it's interesting that the asteroids can also tell stuff. How do we get to this?
Well, in the flotilla, for me, it's kind of like an adventuring party, and you're the character most likely to know about stars and shit.
I'm honored, but I also feel like that's kind of sad. We need more people talking about astrology.
Well, see, the art is like if people start pointing to you for things, you have to find somebody else to point them to.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I have lots of pointers when it comes to astrology. You know, a big playlist on my channel. I highly recommend. Yeah. I remembered how we were talking about it too. I think it connects to, because I think the way that this patterning happens in language, and also just the patterning in general, is musical in nature, and that these musical things are governed by the same archetypes that we see in the planets, such that there are kind of fundamental types of musical happenings. And
there will be signs in the heavens, right?
Yeah.
It's my favorite interpretation of my favorite astrological interpretation of the Book of Revelation. Points to, like, they took the those fancy tools to rewind time and stuff, and used like the symbolism of the Virgin from Virgo as part of it, and the dragon from whatever as a different constellation, and they played it out to the Book of Revelation, and that's what points to Jesus's birthday being on 9/11. Not Christmas.
9/11.
Yeah.
I've not heard that one.
Yeah, it's like 9/11/0000 or something. I don't know exactly like what the year stamp turns out to be, but they based the Book of Revelation astronomy, which is supposed to be of the future, to point towards Jesus's birthday somehow. But it's fascinating.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's my favorite. Just like my favorite cannabis conspiracy theory is that it was brought to Earth from the planet Sirius by ISIS to cure white man of the mark of Cain.
I won't rule it out.
It's funny in Baba Wanyama's territory, they kill all the albinos.
Wow.
And that makes me think of like the time when Cain gets marked with the mark, and he's like, "They'll kill me if I have this mark." So anyway, your time.
Yeah, definitely. Feel free to. I would be interested to watch that mapping to the Book of Revelation if you're curious. If you're keen to send that to me, I would watch it. Yeah, and I think stuff like that is possible. Insofar as like mapping, there's a bunch of channels out there right now that are trying to map the current time period to the Book of Revelation in various ways astrologically, like looking at the what the text says and like corresponding it to actual movements and stuff. And I think some of that is true. I think there's a lot of craziness. One has to be careful when getting into those things, but like, yeah, I think we're kind of beating around the bush, or what's the whistling past the graveyard, like in terms of the signs are happening, but we don't know how to read them. That's what I think personally. It's kind of crazy. Like, I don't mean to be a doomer or whatever, but New Jerusalem is around the corner. That's what I think.
New Jerusalem is round the corner. Let's make that one a t-shirt.
Lord God. That's what I think.
What's your fancy one you did? You remember? The one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, it's called the Seven Plagues.
And so the question is,
it's called the Seven Plagues, and this guy I think is Rickman or
no. But yes, why not?
Is this the one where there was like looking at the movements in those heavens?
No, like the one where you got the geometric thing that does where the things were when Jesus' life.
Oh yeah, the Astrology of Christ's ministry.
The Astrology of Christ, that's the one.
Yes, that was before I knew what the details of Pentecost.
That's it.
And I still
I want to run that for a minute. When I say that you're my astrology guy, this kind of shows them why, right?
Sure.
So, yeah, we'll do from 111.
Sure. So this is based off of some visions, or this is like this. Robert Powell claims to have perfectly dated the events of the life of Christ, and thus enabled us to look at the astrological of that time period. I don't know if they're all correct or if his dating is accurate, but I think it might be, and I found it very interesting. I think we should be looking at stuff like this. So there you go.
Yeah, I just like watching them dance and then seeing the events that are going on and where they are when those happen.
Yeah.
I don't know if it means anything, but I like watching it. And you set it to a beautiful tune.
Thank you. I'm glad you think so. Yeah, the part that particularly interested me, I think, is right up here. It's the raising of Lazarus. I think it might be the following year. I'm not sure. There's also people who claim that 1 year long.
That guy's dates are all wrong and this is bunk.
Well, there'll always be people who say something like that, but
yeah, he's not even baptized yet.
Yeah.
All right, but there's a sample. Go watch the whole thing. The Astrology of Christ's Ministry by Jonathan Dumeer's.
Yeah.
work.
The other thing, thanks for the showcase. The other thing that's really interesting there is that the crucifixion is, according to him, on a Pluto-Jupiter opposition, which kind of maps archetypically. I talked about this in my recent conversation with Formscapes, or one of them.
Well, what was Saturn up to around then? That's what I
know. I don't know. As I've heard, Saturn and Jupiter. I know Saturn was active in the raising of Lazarus, according to his dating, but the some people would say that there was or I think you can actually look that, like in 7 BC or around that time, there was a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, and it happened 3 times over the course of like a year or two, and so people refer to it as the Star of Bethlehem. People would say that's what that was. But yeah, anyway, we could move on from astrology. It's kind of,
So, what do you see in your target demo? Like around you and the people in their 20s? Like, what world do they live in compared to what's the blue church like?
I would say most people my age are Instagram modeling or gaming or I don't know. We live in a pretty bad economic situation currently. Like, I don't know. There's like, I don't know if I have the best sense for it either. I don't really hang around.
Yeah, like an estuary event for a weekend would be a big step for you. Probably not great getting samples, but
as I said, I also have other plans like right around then. It would be a lot going on. But
what about coming to a campfire, Deadwood estuary?
I definitely intend to. I definitely intend to like join one of the events at some point for sure.
Well, the one we're working on here at the GrimGriz channel is just, instead of having speakers or whatever, just however many people can fit at a group campsite, doing the campfire part.
Sure.
And bring your whatnot, because I think a lot of people might not know anything about camping. It might be their first time, and it's an opportunity for a lot of wonderful things, like we saw at Chino and a little bit in North of Estuary.
Yeah, that's cool. Where are you? You're in
Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I'm just on top of Texas, basically.
Yeah, and that's where you're trying to do it?
No, I think I need Corey Eagle Wings that was in my estuary group to help, and he's down in Corpus Christi, Texas.
Gotcha.
So probably southern Texas.
Yeah.
So
I support it. I say go for it. I wish I wish it goes very smoothly for you. And
you'll fly in, right?
Perhaps. I don't know. Maybe. I'm actually in I don't mean to flaunt or anything. I'm actually an Eagle Scout. I'm a big fan of the camping outdoor lifestyle. I think that's super cool that you're bringing the camping into the TLC, because lots of people haven't camped, and I think they're worse off for it. That's what I think.
It helps you see how thin your walls are when you get home.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
All right. You either come up with the topic or we start to close.
Okay. What else? I don't know. Any updates from you? Like, what's been? You went to that event recently. Pretty awesome.
Uh,
You have a good time.
it was fabulous. It was fabulous, especially since I got to have a D&D birthday party with rhubarb pie and bison brisket on
Yeah,
Sunday.
that sounds pretty awesome.
That party eclipsed the event itself in so many ways. But it was great. It was great to see at least, like, I ran into Zach Parsons and we're recording tomorrow. It was like I said in the Paul Vanderklay recap, the micro celebrity supernova. It's because, like, the people I suit, the parasocial relationships of seeing somebody on the screen all the time,
Yeah.
it's so great to see how they interact in physical reality when there's so much more. And I just hope I find excuses to do it over and over again. And
yeah, man. I think that's awesome. That's great to hear. That's awesome. Yeah. Cool. And how about
good for people?
What was that? Sorry?
I said, I guess estuaries are good for people. I don't go to one. I don't know.
Yeah, I should go to my local one. I think I actually missed it. I was scheduled to work, and I didn't realize that it was the same day. But I've been intending to. Yeah. Had something else.
So let me ask you, can you fast?
Can I fast?
Yeah.
Probably.
Like, I mean, we can. It's easy enough to take psychedelics, right? But the hard route, of aestheticism, and
I did that for a while. Kind of. I mean,
you get on the carnivore diet. What do you mean you did it for a while?
I was just like more attuned. My antenna was cleaner and such like that. But I think
do you remember how
nowadays I feel like I've kind of been disregarding my own like spiritual pursuits for
hygiene?
For
spiritual hygiene, boys and girls. Do you have any? Yeah. What is it? Let us know in the comments.
In your orifices.
What are your spiritual hygienic practices?
Yeah.
I'm looking for some to add to my ecology of practices.
Okay. I say astrology. For real though. But being outside in nature and stuff, I used to spend a lot more time outside. I've been more so like focused on clipping and trying to like do the YouTube thing and talk with people.
Have you considered giving back to the Eagle Scouts by participating from the top down?
Not much, to be honest. A couple times, but not seriously. It's a good idea. Yeah. I feel like it's best to have kids in that regard. You know? You know what I mean?
No. I have no idea.
Most people who get involved in Boy Scouts as adults would probably do it by enlisting their kid. It's funny because it actually came out of the military or the army or whatever, but like enrolling their kids and then being a scout leader. I would consider doing that if I had
buy-in.
Yeah, I would consider doing that if I had I don't know if there's a lot of kind of people my age like going back to help out. I feel like that's I don't know.
Is that a thing for you, chasing your son's mother?
To a certain extent. I mean, I haven't been putting as much thought into it as I feel I ought recently.
Well, let me tell you, sir. If you wait until if you stay age appropriate and wait another 4 years, it's a minefield.
Okay, heard that.
You should get started on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I had some rough relational things over the past bunch of years.
Well, maybe you could meet your next lady in the therapy group about those issues.
Yeah, it's possible.
We need more creative talent in the world. Go sow some, Dumeer. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I appreciate your encouragement in that respect. I mean,
you can't swing it back from this level awkward.
I mean, yeah, what were we talking about before that?
Right? So, sum up this Abraxas bullshit for once and for all.
Okay, that is actually one. That's the thing I was planning to go to. Remember when I was talking about the red and green? That's what was on my mind.
All right, all right.
I was gonna ask you if you had ever, if you had ended up kind of looking further into that.
No, what happened was, like, I knew you were up to your Abraxas bullshit, and I had seen old What's-His-Face's original piece back in the day, I think. And then I go up to the denim dinner in Wisconsin with Chad, the girl dad now, and C.W. Weeks was there. And he gives me a book to read. It's not handy, but he gives me this book to read. And I get home and I actually read it because it's only like, it's thin. So I actually read it. And it's an Abraxas cat book. It's I don't know what it's called, but it's by some famous guy who went to war. And so that's all. I got another clue that he was everywhere. So who is he? What's up with him?
Okay. Well, I'm curious about that. Like what that book you read. My first thought was that it was Carl Jung's Seven Sermons to the Dead.
You think a Carl Jung book is an Abraxas Cats book? That's noteworthy. What was the title?
Carl Jung wrote a book called The Seven Sermons to the Dead, in which he speaks about Abraxas quite a bit.
Seven Sermons of the Dead, or to the Dead?
I think it's To the Dead. I don't quite remember, but and yeah, he talks about it there. The way that I conceptualize Abraxas is similar to the way that Galahad or Adonis does.
Oh, don't you say that fucker's name. Leave him out of it.
Okay. Well, I think of it.
Like he's a cockhead, right? A rooster-headed thing with snake feet or something. Do that. What is the
visualization? The thing about it is that we are each Abraxas, but it's like a demiurge, basically, such that it's kind of like the idea that they have of Lila in Eastern spirituality, of the dreaming god who is dreaming the world into existence. Like we are Abraxas, but we sleep, and we create hell as we sleep. But if we wake up, then we are like Christ, basically. Like Christ was the first Abraxas to wake up, or something like that, and to realize that who he is and his connection with God, or that he is God, however you want to phrase it. And
all right. So
and the key thing about Abraxas is that I would say probably the main thing is the two legs are two legs to stand on, such that you have this idea of Christ being the balancing humanity, Christ being the balancing thing in between two forces of evil, but nonetheless he stands on these two legs, so they are essential for his being, and that's red and green, in my opinion. And so that's kind of I would say the fundamental reframing of the kind of Abraxian reading of Christianity, or however you want to, if that's the right way to phrase it, would be that like Christ is not one side of a polarity. Christ is the center. He's the balancing force of two extremes. Like everything we can think of is you have hot and cold, and you have temperate in the middle, and or you have I'm blanking, of course, but like loud, too quiet, like just the right volume,
the balance of opposites.
Yes, and
now let me sum it up for people who can so they can understand it. You are an image bearer of Christ, and your mirror is dirty. Your mirror is dirty. Try our new Abraxas cleaner on your mirror to see the light of Christ within you. And then, we'll go with that.
Something like that, yeah.
Because it sounds like a cleaner, Abraxas brand.
Yeah, well, it's this idea that we had a bad reading of Christ or something like that, and then and it's causing our mirror to be dirty. So then we have like a new way of cleaning the mirror, which is to recognize that we are kind of we are like Abraxas, or that we are Abraxas. And the thing about like that particular image, like why is it not just Christ? I think that's kind of like a iconographic type of thing. It's like Saint Christopher being a dog-headed man, like kind of similar.
The
Not to
forces
say-
that are within that need to be eaten.
Yeah, like not to say that there wasn't actually dog-headed men at one point, but I feel like that might have not been the case, you know? I've got St. Christopher right above your head, actually, behind the computer. But yeah, and this idea that that's kind of how I think about Abraxas. It's this kind of demiurgic, you know, and that also reincorporates the Gnostic way of thinking about things, where we have to attain gnosis, which is to cut through the bullshit, you know, which is our dreams, the maze that we create by dreaming, you know, unconsciously, not intentionally relating to our creator.
Well, that's for me. That's the axiomatic shadow faith. It's like, dude, you're like you're a creative force of reality as a shard of God, holding His breath, as it were, and so the stuff you believe about the world and how the world works actually influences the world and how the world works.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we should get any side eyes for saying that. That seems pretty obvious, you know, to me. I don't know. You know. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Dumeer. I think everybody's going to love it.
It's real nice talking to you, Chris.
What do you want to? Any closing remarks?
Check out my channel if you're looking for clips, short clips. Check out the playlist. Check out Galhead Adonis if you're curious more about the stuff we were talking about here at the end. And like and subscribe to GrimGriz. Yeah.
Obviously. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
End recording.